a real practical thing is if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what people are going to be like, you've got a button-up shirt on, you've maybe got a sport coat in the car and a tie in the pocket of the sport coat in case you need it. So you can really adjust to all levels depending on where you are.
And if you wear an untucked shirt, you are not welcome in my home. Hey! You're not welcome in my home. What do you have to say about the Christmas season and how people dress on occasions?
It's a good question. When it comes to dressing for Christmas, there's a few pitfalls that you want to avoid. And one of the pitfalls is you don't want to drift into goofiness. You don't want to drift into silliness.
Wait a minute.
And
you're saying I don't want to drift into goofiness? What do you mean by that? You're talking about like rainbow sweaters, like Cosby sweaters?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying that how do we make an ode to the Christmas season without devolving into just stupidity? Because joy is different than stupidity.
So you're against
Happiness
stupidity.
is different than silliness.
And I believe Santa Claus himself spoke strongly against stupidity. So give us an example, because Chris and I, we're smart, but we're not that smart. What do you mean when you say to devolve into stupidity and goofiness? What are you referring to?
I'll give you an example. What's the difference between the novelty tie and the motif tie? A novelty tie is an inherent joke. It's making a joke. It's a novelty thing.
It makes a mockery of God. But go ahead. Yeah.
It really is saying, hey, ha, 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 look at this tie. It's kind of funny, isn't it? And everybody just looks at the tie and laughs.
And everybody knows the crappy tie is also made of polyester.
Of course, the drape on a polyester novelty tie is not exactly great. And so when you dress with a novelty tie, it's just a joke. The motif tie is a way to make an ode, make a nod to the season, to the holiday, without devolving into, hey, look, it's just a joke. I'll give you two examples. Let's say you've got a polyester novelty tie and it has some gargantuan, obscene sort of neon scene on it that is obviously just supposed to make you sort of laugh. What's the difference between that, and that's clearly locked into the season, to the holiday, and a small motif on a hunter green, let's say a hunter green motif tie with small white trees. They're all the same, and maybe one red light at the top of each tree, and they're spaced a few inches apart. That's a motif tie that is an ode to the season, a clear, odd nod to the holiday.
So the point I think you're making, and I want, because Chris, I want to be clear.
Yeah.
All right, we want to be clear. You are saying that to nod to the holiday, to in homage of the holiday, as part of dressing festively, you might well wear a tie with small, tasteful Christmas trees on it, or something. In other words, that you can do stuff like that. But there's a line between that and wearing a tie that really is just no different, let's be honest, than a novelty T-shirt.
Yeah, I
That's
think
right.
I was just going to say that I think the line that comes into my head is something I feel like in every recent mob movie you have some guy say, "Hey, don't be a clown. You being a clown? Don't be a clown."
Right.
So I think what you're saying is don't be a clown.
I think what O.W. Root is saying, Middle America, I think what he's saying is don't be a clown. No, but it's interesting that you say that, because I think people, well, first of all, I think we can go back one step. It's always dismaying to me if you go to someone's home for Christmas and you don't make some kind of an effort on Christmas Day to dress up. It's like it's too much trouble. And I think this gets to the heart of the larger conversation about fashion, particularly for men. I think a lot of men, women too, but mostly men, they're very confused about what do I wear. There used to be this kind of uniform that people would know, I put on this and this and that. And that's kind of gone. And so they don't even know how to respond. And I feel for them, because we have a culture that doesn't really help them, which is why we're having you on the show and we're talking about it here. So what would it be appropriate for somebody who maybe they don't want to get like super dressed up, they're not going to do, they're not going to go out and purchase a motif tie perhaps, but what is, to show respect for the people that made the meal, what would be something that you might recommend?
Well, I think that it all depends on where you're starting. If you're starting from wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt every day, honestly, ironing a shirt with a collar and buttons is a step in the right direction.
Did you
We're
say a
all at
T-shirt and
different-
sweatpants every day? Pardon me, I want to pause to go commit suicide. I don't think I'll be back. When I hear that, honestly, I want to cry. I want to cry because that's where we are. Because there are people kind of like, sweatpants.
Well, I also think COVID didn't make that any easier. I think it got worse during COVID. So I think people are coming back from that coma. Right? Because people
Okay,
kind of
yes,
gave up.
yeah.
I have to admit, during COVID, I was like,
Yeah.
why does it matter anymore? You know?
Yeah, why does
So-
anything matter? Why should I even put on a shirt? The house is warm enough. OW, you.
So he was gonna give us
You're
a
making
tip.
a fundamental point
Yeah.
that simply. So say that again, because this is important, folks.
It's where you start. Everybody starts a different place. If we're being honest, some people wear jeans every day. Some people wear chinos. Some people wear a suit every day. It all depends where you're starting. And it's about direction. You're just leveling up a bit, showing respect, making an intentional decision on that day for a specific reason to dress a little higher, to level it up. To
Maybe
dial
not.
it in.
Maybe think about not wearing slip-on shoes, for example. Maybe
Unless they're loafers.
Just think about it. Just think about it. Unless they're nice loafers. No, but it is interesting. You make a good point though that it is kind of where you start, and you don't want to be the one who shows up at a holiday event where nobody dresses up and you're dressed to the nines, basically almost only to make everybody else feel bad about what slobs they are. Like that's not a good holiday message. So you want to be careful.
That's exactly right. I recently did a podcast about this when it comes to Thanksgiving. You have to read the room. You have to read the room. It's about showing respect and not beating down on people. It's about, and that's why I think a real practical thing is if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what people are going to be like, you've got a button-up shirt on, you've maybe got a sport coat in the car and a tie in the pocket of the sport coat in case you need it. So you can really adjust to all levels depending on where you are.
And if you wear an untucked shirt, you're not welcome in my home. Hey! You're not welcome in my home. Folks, I hate to interrupt, but I just don't want you to miss any of the content we're putting out on here. We've just got some amazing stuff. So would you do yourself a favor and hit the subscribe button so we can make sure you don't miss anything? I promise you, great stuff coming up. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you. When we're talking about fashion, it's part of the larger, slide where nothing is special. Sunday is no longer special. We go shopping, we go to the mall on Sunday. It's just like any other day. And that's kind of part of the larger problem in that what we wear signals that this is a special day, this is a special event. I'm going to a place and I'm going to wear something because it's a different place than my living room. Isn't that part of it?
Absolutely. It's about distinction. A lot of the trajectory of our time is a boiling down of distinctions. Distinction between sacred and secular, distinctions between man and woman, distinctions between God and man. And so when we dress for the occasion, when we dress for a religious occasion, when we dress for religious service, we're showing a distinction. We are dressing with respect because what are we doing at a service? We are meeting God in prayer, in a sense. And so we're dressing with intention for that reason. Why would you not dress with intention and respect if you are encountering God in that way?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people, they go to their mega church and they hang out at the coffee bar and watch the service on the screen in the giganto lobby, designed just for their schlubbiness. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I think the people who really nailed it on Christmas were the Magi. You can see that they really got dressed up. Obviously the shepherds didn't know it was coming, so
they didn't wear any
you can't
goofy
blame
sweaters.
them. But
Yeah.
the Magi were very intentional.
No sweatpants.
They had, the turbans and the jewels.
Yeah,
and,
wear a
and-
turban.
yeah.
Hey, dudes.
And the capes.
Step it
they
up.
had capes.
Wear a
even.
turban and a cape, man.
Right?
Freak out your family. No, actually, Chris, now,
Right? I mean, those guys were.
I'm going to come
Can I-
out against the turbans and the capes.
Can I use the word pimpin'? Those guys were pimpin'.
Yeah, they were pimping. Yeah, that's exactly what the problem is. You don't want to be doing that. But I think it's funny. Some people have a sense of fun, and you can express your personality through what you wear. But one of the things, OW, that you talk about at Necktie Salvage is the idea of, you say, incorporating pieces of clothing that stand on their own in their quality. What do you mean by that, sir?
It's great to have fun. We have fun. Look at what I'm wearing right now. You can't tell due to the lighting, but this is actually a very dark green sport coat, and it's a red knit tie. This is obviously an ode to what we're talking about, to the holiday, yet this outfit could stand on its own in November or October. It looks just fine on its own. Think about the tartan tie. The tartan tie is another great way. A tartan, it's a plaid, it's wool. That's a great way to make a nod to the holiday in a very tasteful way. That tie is beautiful on its own. It isn't the grotesque polyester tie with a Christmas tree that's falling over and Santa Claus dropping down it, and it's designed to make a
I guess
joke.
I got to throw away my grandma got run over by a reindeer tie now that we're having this conversation. And you know what? I will burn it. And because it's made of polyester, man, it's going to go up like whoo. And you don't want to get near the smoke because it's very toxic. Okay, so wearing clothing, in other words, you don't need to scream Christmas. You can, I guess. It depends on your personality and where you're going. But you're saying wearing pieces of clothing that, how did you put it? You said that stand on their own in quality. So, yeah.
Exactly. They stand on their own in quality. And this is, again, guys, it depends on your attitude. If you like to have a lot of fun, you can have more fun. But I think a lot of guys, why do they dress so goofy with the stupid tie or the ugly sweater? It's because they do that to sort of preempt any taking themselves seriously. It's not really because they're that joyful. They just sort of say, haha, I'm going to make a joke instead of taking themselves seriously. And I want to make a distinction between joy and stupidity. Joy is great. There's a lot of joy in the style I wear, the Ivy style, the prep style, but it's not the novelty joke. To have a piece that stands on its own, that motif tie that has Christmas trees on it.
There are
is
a lot
lovely piece.
of men listening to this program right now who are feeling very convicted, and they're tempted to denounce you and me as gay or metrosexual for even having this conversation. And I want to simply say, I think that if you watch old movies, like I often do, you just see the most extraordinary men, whether it's Cary Grant or any of those films. I was watching one last night, and it really defined manhood in a previous era. So how is it that we've gotten to a place where real men now kind of look down on it? I mean, the culture has shifted so dramatically. The people are thinking like, hey, OW and Chris and Eric, you need to get a life. Like, I work for a living, and I'm going to wear what I want at Christmas. And look, I get that. I get that. This is not about condemning people, except for Joe Biden, who stole the election. I just got to throw that in because it's related to fashion. But I want to say that it is, I think in a way, it takes time for people to get this idea and to think about it. So this is not about making people feel bad, but it's making them realize, like, it's not just your wife is nagging you to get dressed up, but that there's something actually serious about this. At least that's how I see it.
And it's an opportunity.
That's exactly right.
So it's not about being metrosexual.
It's about think about this. Think about the state of our civilization today versus then. When people think it's just flattery or it's just superfluous, it's not. Those men, when they dressed strongly, they are dressed as strong men. They're not showing a weak image of man. What was the state of the civilization then compared to today? There's a correlation between this. It is trying to rekindle strength when you take care to dress with intention and to show a strong image of man.
All right. So you might be like milking cows during the week, but don't be afraid to wear an Argyle sock at Christmas.